So we're in the last part of chapter 3, and remember, Mowgli has been taken by the monkeys, and they are in the abandoned city, and Mowgli is so tired, and he looks up and sees that the clouds are coming, and at the same time, Bagheera and Kaa, the snake, are noticing the clouds as well. I will go to the west wall, Kaw whispered, and come down swiftly with the slope of the ground in my favor. They will not throw themselves upon my back in their hundreds, but I know it, said Bagheera. I wish that Baloo were here, but we must do what we can. When that cloud covers the moon, I shall go to the terrace. They hold some sort of council there over the boy. Good hunting, said Kaw grimly, and glided away to the west wall. That happened to be the least ruined of any, and the big snake was delayed a while before he could find a way up the stones. The cloud hid the moon, and as Mowgli wondered what would come next, he heard Bagheera's light feet on the terrace. The Black Panther had raced up the slope almost without a sound and was striking. He knew better than to waste time in biting right and left among the monkeys, who were seated around Mowgli in circles 50 and 60 deep. There was a howl of fright and rage, and then as Bagheera tripped on the rolling, kicking bodies beneath him, a monkey shouted, "There's only one here! Kill him! Kill!" A scuffling mass of monkeys, biting, scratching, tearing, and pulling, closed over Bagheera, while 5 or 6 grabbed Mowgli, dragged him up the wall of the summer house, and pushed him through the hole of the broken dome. A man-trained boy would have been badly bruised, for the fall was a good 15 feet, but Mowgli fell as Baloo had taught him to fall and landed on his feet. "Stay here," shouted the monkeys, "till we have killed your friends, and later we will play with you, if the poison people leave you alive." "We be of one blood, ye and I," said Mowgli, quickly giving the snake's call. He could hear rustling and hissing in the rubbish all around him, and gave the call a second time to make sure. "Even so, down hoods all," said half a dozen low voices. Every ruin in India becomes sooner or later a dwelling place of snakes, and the old summer house was alive with cobras. "Stand still, little brother, for your feet may do us harm." Mowgli stood as quietly as he could, peering through the open work and listening to the furious din of the fight around the Black Panther, the yells and chatterings and scufflings, and Bagheera's deep, hoarse cough as he backed and bucked and twisted and plunged under the heaps of his enemies. For the first time since he was born, Bagheera was fighting for his life. Baloo must be at hand. Bagheera would not have come alone, Mowgli thought. And then he called aloud, "To the tank, Bagheera! Roll to the water tanks! Roll and plunge! Get to the water!" Bagheera heard, and the cry that told him Mowgli was safe gave him new courage. He worked his way desperately, inch by inch, straight for the reservoirs, halting in silence. Then from the ruined wall nearest the jungle rose up the rumbling war shout of Baloo. The old bear had done his best, but he could not come before. "Bagheera!" he shouted. "I'm here! I climb! I hurry! Ahura! The stones slip under my feet! Wait for my coming, O most infamous Banderlog!" He panted up the terrace, only to disappear to the head in a wave of monkeys. But he threw himself squarely on his haunches and, spreading out his forepaws, hugged as many as he could hold, and then began to hit with regular bat, 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 like the flipping strokes of a paddle wheel. A crash and a splash told Mowgli that Bagheera had fought his way to the tank where the monkeys could not follow. The panther lay gasping for breath, his head just out of the water, while the monkeys stood 3 deep on the red steps, dancing up and down with rage, ready to spring upon him from all sides if he came out to help Baloo. It was then that Bagheera lifted up his dripping chin and in despair gave the snake's call for protection. "We be of one blood, ye and I," for he believed that Kaw had turned tail at the last minute. Even Baloo, half smothered under the monkeys on the edge of the terrace, could not help chuckling as he heard the Black Panther asking for help. Kaw had only just worked his way over the west wall, landing with a wrench that dislodged a coping stone into the ditch. He had no intention of losing any advantage of the ground and coiled and uncoiled himself once or twice to be sure that every foot of his long body was in working order. All that while, the fight with Baloo went on, and the monkeys yelled in the tank around Bagheera, and Mang the Bat, flying to and fro, carried the news of the great battle over the jungle, till even Hati the wild elephant trumpeted. And far away, scattered bands of the monkey folk woke and came leaping along the tree roads to help their comrades in the cold lairs, and the noise of the fight roused all the daybirds for miles around. Then Kaw came straight, quickly, and anxious to kill. The fighting strength of a python is in the driving blow of his head, backed by all the strength and weight of his body. If you can imagine a lance or a battering ram or a hammer weighing nearly half a ton, driven by a cool, quiet mind living in the handle of it, you can roughly imagine what Kaw was like when he fought. A python, 4 or 5 feet long, can knock a man down if he hits him reasonably in the chest. And Kaw was 30 feet long, as you know. His first strike was delivered into the heart of the crowd around Baloo. It was sent home with shut mouth in silence, and there was no need for a second. The monkeys scattered with cries of, "Kaw! It's Kaw! Run! Run!" Generations of monkeys have been scared into good behavior by the stories of their elders told them of Kaw, the night thief, who could slip among the branches as quietly as moss grows and steal away the strongest monkey that ever lived. Of old Kaw, who could make himself look so like a dead branch or a rotten stump that the wisest were deceived. Sorry, I lost my place for a minute. Till the branch caught them. Kaw was everything that the monkeys feared in the jungle, for none of them knew the limits of his power. None of them could look him in the face, and none had ever come alive out of his hug. And so they ran, stammering with terror, to the walls and the roofs of the houses, and Baloo drew a deep breath of relief. His fur was much thicker than Bagheera's, but he had suffered badly in the fight. Then Kaw opened his mouth for the first time and spoke one long, hissing word, and the faraway monkeys, hurrying to the defense of the cold lairs, stayed where they were, cowering till the loaded branches bent and cracked under them. The monkeys on the walls and the empty houses stopped their cries, and in the stillness that fell upon the city, Mowgli heard Bagheera shaking his wet sides as he came up from the tank. Then the clamor broke out again. The monkeys leaped higher up the walls. They clung around the necks of the big stone idols and shrieked as they skipped along the battlements, while Mowgli, dancing in the summer house, put his eye to the screenwork and hooted like an owl between his front teeth to show his derision and contempt. "Get the man cub out of that trap! I can do no more!" Bagheera gasped. "Let us take the man cub and go. They may attack again." "They will not move till I order them. Stay you so," Kaw hissed, and the city was silent once more. "I could not come before, brother, but I think I heard you call." This was to Bagheera. I may have cried out in the battle," Bagheera answered. "Baloo, are you hurt?" "I am not sure that they did not pull me into 100 little bearlings," said Baloo, gravely shaking one leg after the other. "Wow, I am sore. Kaw, we owe you, I think, our lives, Bagheera and I." "No matter. Where is the manling?" "Here, in a trap. I cannot climb out," cried Mowgli. The curve of the broken dome was above his head. "Take him away. He dances like Mayo the peacock. He will crush our young," said the cobras inside. "Ha!" said Kaw with a chuckle. "He has friends everywhere, this manling. Stand back, manling, and hide you, O poison people. I will break down the wall." Kaw looked carefully till he found a discolored crack in the marble tracery, showing a weak spot, made 2 or 3 light taps with his head to get the distance, and then, lifting up 6 feet of his body, clear of the ground, sent home half a dozen full-power smashing blows nose first. The screenwork broke and fell away in a cloud of dust and rubbish, and Mowgli leaped through the opening and flung himself between Baloo and Bagheera, an arm around each neck. "Are you hurt?" said Baloo, hugging him softly. "I am sore, hungry, and not a little bruised, but oh, they have handled you grievously, my brothers. You bleed." "Others also," said Bagheera, licking his lips and looking at the monkey dead on the terrace and around the tank. It is nothing if you are safe, oh my pride of all little frogs," whimpered Baloo. "Of that we shall judge later," said Bagheera in a dry voice that Mowgli did not like at all. "But here is Kaw, to whom we owe the battle, and you owe your life. Thank him according to our customs, Mowgli." Mowgli turned and saw the great python's head swaying a foot above his own. "So this is the manling," said Kaw. "Very soft is his skin, and he is not unlike the Banderlog. Have a care, manling, that I do not mistake you for a monkey some twilight when I have newly changed my coat." "We be of one blood, ye and I," Mowgli answered. "I take my life from you tonight. My kill shall be your kill, if ever you are hungry, O Kaw." "All thanks, little brother," said Kaw, though his eyes twinkled. "And what can so bold a hunter kill? I ask that I may follow when he next goes out." "I kill nothing. I am too little, but I drive goats toward those who can use them. When you are empty, come to see me, and see if I speak the truth. I have some skill in these," he held out his hands, "and if you are ever in a trap, I may pay the debt which I owe to you, to Bagheera, and to Baloo here. Good hunting to you all, my masters." "Well said," growled Baloo, for Mowgli had returned thanks very prettily. The python dropped his head lightly for a minute on Mowgli's shoulder. "A brave heart and a courteous tongue," he said. "They shall carry you far through the jungle, manling. But now go away quickly with your friends. Go and sleep, for the moon sets, and what follows, it is not well that you should see." The moon was sinking behind the hills, and the lines of trembling monkeys huddled together on the walls and battlements looked like ragged, shaky fringes of things. Baloo went down to the tank for a drink, and Bagheera began to put his fur in order as Kaw glided out into the center of the terrace and brought his jaws together with a ringing snap that drew all the monkeys' eyes upon him. "The moon sets," he said. "Is there still enough light to see?" From the walls came a moan like the wind in the treetops. "We see, O Kaw." "Good. Now begins the dance of the Hunger of Kaw. Sit still and watch." He turned twice or thrice in a big circle, weaving his head from right to left. Then he began making loops and figures of 8 with his body, and soft, oozy triangles that melted into squares, and 5-sided figures and coiled mounds, never resting, never hurrying, and never stopping his low, humming song. It grew darker and darker, till at last the dragging, shifting coils disappeared, but they could hear the rustle of the scales. Baloo and Bagheera stood still as stone, growling in their throats, their neck hair bristling, and Mowgli watched and wondered. "Banderlog," said the voice of Kaw at last, "can you move foot or hand without my order? Speak. Without your order, we cannot move foot or hand, O Kaw." "Good. Come all one pace nearer to me." The lines of the monkeys swayed forward helplessly, and Baloo and Bagheera took one stiff step forward with them. "Nearer," hissed Kaw, and they all moved again. Mowgli laid his hands on Baloo and Bagheera to get them away, and the two great beasts started as though they had been waked from a dream. Keep your hand on my shoulder, Bagheera whispered. Keep it there, or I must go back. Must go back to Kaw. Ah! It is only Kaw making circles on the dust, said Mowgli. Let us go. And the three slipped off through a gap in the walls to the jungle. Woof! Said Baloo when he stood under the still trees again. Never again will I make an ally of Kaw, and he shook himself all over. He knows more than we, said Bagheera, trembling. In a little time, had I stayed, I would have walked right down his throat. Many will walk by that road before the moon rises again, said Baloo. He will have good hunting in his own way. But what was the meaning of it all, said Mowgli, who did not know anything of a python's powers of fascination. I saw no more than a big snake making foolish circles till the dark came, and his nose was all sore. Ho, ho! Mowgli, said Bagheera angrily, his nose was sore on your account, as my ears and sides and paws, and Baloo's neck and shoulders are bitten on your account. Neither Baloo nor Bagheera will be able to hunt with pleasure for many days. It is nothing, said Baloo. We have the man cub again. True, but he has cost us heavily in time, which could have been spent in good hunting, in wounds, in hair. I am half plucked along my back, and last of all, in honor. For remember, Mowgli, I, who am the Black Panther, was forced to call upon Kaw for protection, and Baloo and I were both made stupid as little birds by the hunger dance. All this, man cub, came of your playing with the Banderlog. True, it is true, said Mowgli sorrowfully. I am an evil man cub, and my stomach is sad in me. What says the law of the jungle, Baloo? Baloo did not wish to bring Mowgli into any more trouble, but he could not tamper with the law, so he mumbled, Sorrow never delays punishment. But remember, Bagheera, he is very little. I will remember, but he has done mischief, and blows must be dealt now. Mowgli, have you anything to say? Nothing. I did wrong. Baloo and you are wounded. It is just. Bagheera gave him half a dozen love taps from a panther's point of view. They would hardly have waked one of his own cubs. But for a 7-year-old boy, they amounted to as severe a beating as you could wish to avoid. When it was all over, Mowgli sneezed and picked himself up without a word. Now, said Bagheera, jump on my back, little brother, and we will go home. One of the beauties of jungle law is that punishment settles all scores. There is no nagging afterward. Mowgli laid his head down on Bagheera's back and slept so deeply that he never waked when he was put down in the home cave. So Baloo and Bagheera are very, very good friends, and they're going to take care of Mowgli. And Kaw was there to help as well. We'll read the first part of chapter 4 when I see you next. Bye-bye.